Welcome to the PAC Show, the show that brings you all the highlights, the lowlights, the reviews, the previews, the news, and the interviews from rugby here in Australia and around the world.
We lost every game.
Always need to be heard, these bastards.
What? Punch on! What is happening? Samu Krebe! Samu, how you doing, brother? Hey! What is happening?
In the car.
Yes, the boys. Thank you, everyone.
We're the best of friends.
Hilarious. Yeah, one I won't remember. I will remember.
Yeah, we got him!
Can't be good at it. That's the one thing I'll leave you with.
Hey, welcome to the PAC Rugby Show. Sorry, felt like my chair was sinking under the weight of expectation that I carry every single week. But welcome to the PAC Rugby Show. My name's Jay Bohr. Welcome to the DoubleTake Studios. As per usual, we're fizzing at the bunghole. We've got a very special guest this evening. Before we do that, introduce my co-host for this evening. He's getting his second, maybe third start. Big Fat Das is up on the starters bench. Yeah! And Quirky as well, the boys.
Doesn't feel natural, though.
Feels a bit weird.
Yeah. One down there.
Yeah, that is casting couch and a half, eh? It's so gross,
We're
man.
ready for it.
Easily to wipe off too, man. But as I said, very special guest this evening. He's finally back in Australia after plying his trade over in Japan. None other than former Wallaby halfback, Nick Phipps. Yes! Nick Phipps, ladies and gentlemen. Mate, thanks very much for joining us.
This is my first time caller.
Nice.
Yeah, hell yeah, mate. Well, we've had a few. We had to get you on the blower. I think you're one of our most requested guests. A lot of the time, that actually comes from former guests saying like, "Oh, mate, if there's someone you got to get on, it's Fancy." So we're so pumped to finally have you on. But before we sort of get into the weird shit. Look, huge news out of the UK earlier today in regards to London Irish, your old mob.
Actually, J-Ball, before we get to that, something that's more pressing. Is it true, Nick, that you were named Men's Health Celebrity Man of the Year and you beat Manu Fidel? Is that true?
Correct, yeah.
Oh.
Raining as well.
Raining.
The competition hasn't been run since.
No, like we found him.
Title,
We found him. It cannot be beaten.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, you
one of the
still have the
ultimate
trophy. You don't have to
features,
hand it in. Love
Still
it.
living that down.
Yeah, you're right. That was more serious. Thanks for that,
that's
Big Fat
actually
Das.
didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
that was a
little
rough
tidbit.
period of my career, that one.
What?
Really? Why? Run us through it. What happened there? Was it just a lot of shit talk from the boys more than anything else?
Oh, it was like the media lady at our club at the Waratahs was like, listen, we need a bit of promotion for the club. Men's Health just want to do like a Q&A and like it'll be a couple of photos. It'll be nothing. It'll be easy as. It'll take a couple of hours.
I love this.
I was like, yeah, all right. So it was in the middle of our holidays. And then turned up and there was like semi-trailers. There was like 30 people there. There was smoke machines. There was tyres. There was ropes. There was a full wardrobe. And it was like a 4-hour photo shoot. And then I was like, thank God that's done. Next day, I was like saying to her, I was like, oh, yeah, thanks for the stitch up there. That was a long day. And she goes, oh, yeah, so the competition will start next month. We'll start pushing stuff out about that. I was like, what do you mean? What competition? She's like, oh, it's actually for Men's Health Man of the Year. And these are your competitors. And I was like you said, it was like Manu Fidel, someone from Home and Away. And it was just relentless because it was like a 3-month comp and the boys were just every day just rinsing me.
Long off season. But you did it. Reigning champion, right? I love that.
There'd also be a little bit of jealousy there.
Yeah, it was funny as well because, I took a few of the boys from the Pentagon to the awards night and they ended up winning and I was just sort of like, well, this is a bit awkward up here. one of the home and away guys stormed off. He was really upset.
Got his abs done and everything.
It was an open bar, so we had a pretty good night. It was well worth it.
Love it.
The dude from Home and Away would be so pissed off, man. Oh, Manu Fidel.
So it was just like, well, good day.
That is a crazy
Good day,
pull,
Elvis.
Big Fat Das. How you pulled that out of your ass, your brain scares me. As I said, though, on a more serious note, coming out of the UK, your old mob, London Irish, now one of 3 clubs this season that's had their registration for next season pulled after there was a failed US takeover. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, as a former teammate to a lot of the guys there, this must be really difficult to watch.
Yeah, it is. And I've been chatting to so many of the boys there because, I only left last year. I'm still such good mates with all of them over there. It's been carnage as well. Just, the way that no one's really been telling the truth and how it's just fallen apart around them. And as usual, it's only the players, the staff, and the fans that suffer. All that stuff happening up at the top has just been so poorly run. It's really disappointing for it to come to a head like this over the last few days. And now, pre-season's supposed to start in 2 weeks, and there's 80 so rugby players just from London Irish looking for a job, along with Wasper, a lot of the people out of Wales. So yeah, it's just a very sad situation because the club has been around for 120 years. It's so old and so traditional, and for it to fall over just like this, it's very sad.
Made it
Brutal.
Yeah, mate, that is brutal. It is brutal. We'll hopefully get onto a bit of the nicer
But
stuff.
in saying that, hopefully some of the coaches over here are looking, at some of those clubs. There's so many good players there. There's some big, thick boys in the front row, and there's some tall timber there that it could just pick the eyes out of. There's good opportunities there to sort of bring in some of that European experience into Super Rugby. And, if I was one of the jams of the super clubs over here, I'd be having a good look around.
Bloody oath.
Watch the space. Fang, more on to you, big man. Obviously, a poor King's boy, as they say, and a Sydney Uni tragic. Mate, 2009 was lucky enough to rub shoulders with you for the Aussie Sevens. And, mate, awesome, huge performances, one of the standout, one of the fittest guys you'll ever see on the paddock, boys, I'll tell you that now. And then, obviously, cruised into a nice, healthy contract down at the Melbourne Rebels, mate. How were those initial first few years? Because I know it happened pretty quickly.
It was honestly the best thing for me, to be honest. I had to work hard in club rugby, which, as we all know, is one of the best nurseries of footy players ever had. I think the best part about being club rugby is you're going out and you're getting, your head shoved up your ass by some 32-year-old carpenter when you're 20 years old. That's how you learn the trade. And I finally got my opportunity. Not even finally. I got an opportunity at Melbourne Rebels, and I absolutely loved it because we weren't one of the big teams either. Like, it was was just starting off with, there wasn't really a lot expected from us, but to be able to compete and get a lot of footy into me week in, week out with some of the great players who, a lot of them were at the tail end of their career, but the knowledge they had around the game were fantastic for me. And it definitely, gave me the opportunity to leapfrog into the rest of my career.
With signing with the Rebels, brand new team into the Super Rugby, what was that like, trying to set the culture, set the standard, all that kind of stuff in the first couple of years?
It was interesting as well from a young guy's perspective.
Yeah.
I was only 20 years old. Being able to watch that now was so interesting to me, even now, so looking back on it. There was, some of the biggest, dogs in Super Rugby and Australian rugby all coming together, and it was like, you got your Adam Fryer, Sterling Morlock, Julian Huxley, Sam Cordingley, like a lot of these older players that have been around for a long while. Luke Rooney was there, Jared Safi from the league. And those two teams had gone really well in the day. So seeing them
Rooney, I forgot.
Yeah. One of the greats as well.
Yeah,
he wasn't getting the magazine of the year.
No,
was he?
Wait, was he on the list? Was he?
He wasn't on the list from memory.
But bringing those guys together and the standards they set from the different clubs have been at was really interesting. And it was a good way to sort of learn as a young guy the way that they dictated from day one. Our results sort of struggled a bit because those guys that I all mentioned were sort of a little bit busted for a fair while. But we toiled away, and a lot of young guys got their opportunity, and we had a really good time. We worked our way we were definitely bottom of the ladder the first year, and then we worked our way slowly up to the middle of the table. And like I said, it was a great opportunity. I loved my time down there.
And I want to ask as well, so after 4 seasons there, you obviously moved back to Sydney to become part of the Tars, and 2014 culminates in that famous Super Rugby Premiership. Run us through that, like obviously the vibe at the club during that period, and obviously your journey getting back to Sydney there, but also just, as I said, culminating in that Premiership. That must have been pretty special to be a part of.
It was awesome, especially as a New South Wales boy. I grew up here. Everything was done here, my footy and everything. I always wanted to come home, I guess, at some stage of my career. Obviously, very appreciative for the opportunity Melbourne gave me, but I remember being in the off season. I was back at home. It was my birthday, and Czech called me out of the blue. Never spoken to me. He's like, "Mate, let's have a meeting." And I was like, I can't say, "Oh, it's my birthday, mate. Can we do it another time?" So I was like, straight in the car,
Not a good start.
straight to him, and left my parents behind. And I ducked in and met him, and he sold a really good vision. I always wanted to be a part of it, and I was hooked day one. So it was great, and I think that was his second year in control. So you know what they say about coaches: the second and third year is the time when they actually get the squad they want together, and things sort of just came together. It was an unbelievable year. People didn't rate us early on, which was great, and we snuck under the radar for a fair bit, and we ended up going on a really good run through the middle of the year, which is unbelievable. And it's annoying. You sort of take it for granted at the time, just when things are going so well, and you look back on it, and you just realise how hard that was to replicate, and how many things went into that. The players, the coaches, the staff, everyone to get to that title. And the final series was surreal. We're playing the biggest teams, and we managed to just be on a hot streak and roll them all into the final, and had an awesome game against the Crusaders in the final, and beat one of the arguably the best teams of all time.
Mm-hmm. Mate, it's as good as it gets, mate. You covered it a little bit, mate. Czech, he's a bit of a mastermind. he's a bit of a unique cat. You dived into a little bit just about the guy he was, but can you just tell us a little bit more about the man he is and the coach he is? I know I heard a few stories out of the Pentagon about his golf analogy and a few things in the change room, but mate, him as a bloke and him as a coach.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy. He's a little bit like Eddie, He's the kind of guy that just asks the best out of you. So if you're not delivering that, or he only wants effort areas. If you're not delivering that, he's off you, which is fair enough. You want your coach to be demanding the best out of the players that he's got, and he sells a vision that's unbelievable. He believed before all of us did that we could win the title, and his main job was convincing us almost, and putting all the hard work and all the effort into it. And his training methods were mad. They were awesome. There was so much running and just bashing each other. He had this theory that you become battle hardened. So the more that we're just beating each other up, the more that we'd be fine against all the South Africans. And I think the reason why he sort of shocked the system a bit is he brought back that old school that, nowadays there's so much you got to hit these meters and you need this many accelerations and
ruck arrival stats.
All that stuff. Bullshit. Whereas he was like, right, here's a piece of chalk. Run down that road. I might blow the whistle in 20 seconds or 5 minutes. Just run as hard as you can. Don't stop. And then the big Lebs on his bicycle riding behind you, just yelling at you, going, ah! That's the stuff they don't do enough of. It's always 60 meters, and then you have 20 seconds break and you run back. That sort of old school stuff was awesome. And then blow the whistle. And he's like, right, write your name on the road. Sweet. Okay. Next time you've got the same time to get back to where we started, or you're doing it again. And that's the old school toughness that we sort of developed as a group that, helped us out in a lot of those really tough periods against a lot of the Kiwi teams towards the end of the season.
But also the perks of a private yacht. So,
that'll do. Oh. What actually? Before I get to my question, what the Pentagon is that New South Wales HQ? The Pentagon.
Yes, correct.
No, it is.
So, that's actually Pentagon is.
It was
famous.
Correct.
Yeah, it is New South Wales Waratahs HQ, but it was a place that you lived at with. Who was there? There was Bernard Foley, Michael Hodge,
now
Josh
I get
Coops,
it.
John O'Lance.
John O'Lance, yeah. And then we had the Muggle Coops.
The Muggle.
Yeah.
Mate, a lot of famous stories have come out of there. What did that really do in regards to sort of building the culture or the vibe at the TARS? Did that have anything to do with it or in any respect? Because, as I said, a lot of famous stories come out of there.
It actually did, because I guess in every team I've been in, you'd need that sort of not at all dominant, but that loud group. They're always sort of bringing the boys up, having a laugh. You often laughed at them. I know at London Irish, we had an academy house who just used to have some wild stories every day and have a laugh with them, and that'd sort of bring you all together. We were that group, and we were so young and dumb. We lived in a house there just down on Bondi, lived a great life. A lot of the boys were always coming to and from. I don't think we locked the door in about 3 years. and a lot of gatherings back there after games and through the week, and it was awesome. It sort of brought us all together. I think it was definitely Waratahs HQ after we won the title for 3 days. We really dug ourselves in there, and funny stories that we could tell in a training every day, like John O'Lance putting milk in the kettle and stuff like that. That sort of brought us all together, and just some good times. I think it was a good point for us in our lives, and we all sort of have a WhatsApp group and we still laugh about most of the time.
Well, just on those good times, when you guys did win the comp in 2014, I know you guys drink anyway for free on the northern beaches, but that like a couple of weeks after winning the comp, did you guys get time to soak it all in? Do you look back fondly? What did you guys actually get up to?
No, we were on a bus to Bathurst on Wednesday for getting ready for Bledders, and there were some horrible human beings on that bus.
Oh man,
it was just the Tars boys as well. It was just the Tars boys. It was like a mini bus, so it wasn't even a big bus. It was just a rocky trip all the way in. But yeah, those 4 or 5 days after that title was unreal. I think during the week there was only me and Bernard playing. So the other 3 were on preparations for the weekend, and we had a contact at Magnus there who was sponsoring the club, and he goes, yeah, I can look after you. Just bring your biggest car in. So they drove I think it was a 4x4 in, and got to the warehouse there at Magnus, and he goes, right, anything here you can fit in the car, go. And so the boys, and they have Grey Goose, they have all the good stuff. And so they reckon Hodgie was in the front seat, feet up, just tucked in, because all under his feet was still a Grey Goose, and it was Magnus all just chockers up the back of the car. They absolutely stuffed it full. so that sort of got us going for a fair bit, and it was funny. All the coaches were back there as well. I remember Daryl Gibson kicking cans through our windows towards the back end of the night. It was a very funny weekend, and you know what it's like. Once you achieve something and you're all together, there's nothing better in the world.
Bloody oath.
Sorry, mate. I'm just trying to reminisce. My Reds times was about, I think it was 11 days. I think was what we ran at the end. Or Gilly was in the 14s by that time. 14 days, I think. Gilly ran.
Months.
14 days old.
And I think he was,
Months
14 months old. Mate, so, okay, we're going to cross 2010. Mate, footsteps, your uncle, your grandfather, mate, strapping on the green and gold. 64 caps, 2 World Cups. Mate, obviously, as you said, it happened quite quickly for you, but setting it all out now, did you ever expect that you were going to get to that level and reach that height?
Oh no, I didn't even want to I knew I was never going to be a professional rugby player. I was the smallest kid in my school. I was just holding on to a halfback spot. I obviously tried hard and I was fit and I worked hard for the boys, but I was nowhere near it. I only just started playing rugby because I went to Sydney Uni there to study, and then I walked down to training one day. I was like, I wonder if I can get a game down here, and I turned up and there was about 12 halfbacks, and I was like, oh. Jeez, this is going to be tough. I'll call up a few mates at East, see if there's any spots over there. But stuck with it. I'm very glad I did. I'm the first one to say that I wouldn't have been a professional player if I didn't have my time at Sydney Uni. I know that it's everyone's second favourite team, but I had a really good time there. They gave me the opportunity to work as hard as I wanted to be. And they gave everyone that opportunity. If you wanted to work hard, they were there for you. And I just wanted to work hard for the people in my team, and it just sort of step up. I learned how to work hard. I learned the ins and outs of the game. There's a lot of good coaches there that helped me with everything, and they definitely gave me the opportunity to get an opportunity. And then, like you said, Quirky, with you guys in the sevens, I was nowhere near the sevens team. That was just remember watching Bernard and Silsey going away to camp, and I was like, yeah, how good on you lads, real pumped. And then Chucky got injured at a camp, and Michael O'Connor called me when I was at a 21st, and I was it was mid-afternoon, so I was steaming, and he gave me a call and he invited me along to just come and train, and I was like, Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll definitely be there. And he actually called me again the next day, being like, just checking that you got that message. I knew you were having a pretty good time last time. But yeah, I was supposed to be going to South America for a couple of months with a few mates. So pushed the trip back a week, and then went to camp, ran around, had a really good time. Did a pretty good job, but it turns out, and someone else got injured in that camp, and then Mick's like, "You want to come?" I was like, "Yeah, all right, this will be good fun," and ended up going and doing a year of sevens with all you guys and absolutely loving it, doing quite well. I was lucky, had a few breaks and just was playing a lot. And, we did so well at Commonwealth Games. We were rated nowhere near it, ended up coming second, getting the silver medal, which is unbelievable. And then a couple of days later, while I was still in the village, the Wallabies manager called me and said, "Oh, mate, we've got a spring tour going. You want to come?" And I was like, "Oh, all right, this will be awesome."
Just keep rolling on the tickets.
I hadn't even signed for a Super Rugby team, so I was like going into camp and meeting all these rock stars I'd been watching at the pub about 3 weeks earlier. And it was just a surreal experience how quickly it all happened and how many doors were open. But I think the most important thing was every time I went in somewhere, I worked hard and I sort of tried to make a good impression. And I think that's 90% of the battle. If they see that you're working hard, you're a good person, and you want to be there, then they'll give you opportunities.
On your time as a...
That is wild.
Wait.
You've all you've really done is chop piss and fallen ass backwards into a professional rugby career. It's brilliant. You're the most brilliant rugby player we've ever interviewed.
The recipe. That's the recipe, I guess.
Yeah.
Because when I was playing sevens as well, I wasn't allowed to play first grade at uni. They were like, "Oh, you're not fit enough, so you're playing third grade." So I played like half the season that year in 2009 in third grade, just running around at Sydney Uni. So, and then something happened and they needed a halfback urgently. So they're like, I went up to first grade. And my first game, I played first grade at Sydney Uni, the people's team. There was like a fight in the middle of the field for some reason. I was like 20. I was like, I wasn't throwing hands at all. And the ball was just there. So I picked it up and ran through a few blokes and went and scored while there was this massive brawl behind me. I ended up scoring in the corner, and I later found out that like Robbie Deans was sitting in that corner. So it all sort of just pieced together and worked to play.
You're like,
yes. He's like, "Gee, you must have been playing for a while." It was my first game. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even bring my shorts or socks. I had no idea. It ended up being a pretty good day.
You're like the rugby version of Forrest Gump.
Love that. Everything's coming up, Phipps. Mate,
just run everyone into the ground.
That's it. Mate, during your time as a Wallaby, what would you say was your best experience?
Oh, good question. Definitely World Cup. 2015 World Cup was unbelievable. I think just for the feeling that, we're so far away from Australia, but we knew everyone back home was like right on us, which was super cool. We obviously started that tournament, no hope. No one rated us, which was great. And we just floated through. We worked hard. We went through hell in some of those camps with Czech. So by that stage, we got to the World Cup. We felt like we deserved to do well. Then we went really well in the pools. And from there, everyone was just straight on. Pubs were opening in Sydney, 2, 3 in the morning so the games could be seen. We just knew that everyone back home was loving it. And we just went on a really hot roll together and played really well. And there were some fantastic blokes in that team. Like even the masterstroke by Czech, bringing back like Gibson, Drew Mitchell. Like I said, you need those people in the group that will bring everyone out. Like we were at the Pentagon, like at the Waratahs, people like Mitch Chapman, Steve Hoyles, Brendan McKibben and Matt Carraro. Like they were all 30, 32, old blokes, played a lot. Were there definitely not as the best players in the squad, but they actually brought the best out of all of us because of their experience and how they sat on the bench together and they worked hard and made us better. Just masterstrokes like that sort of helped us all the way through that 2015 campaign. And even though we fell down right at the end there, it was a special experience. Like you often think, if kids didn't get knocked out 15 minutes in, where we could have gone because we were playing so well, but you never really know. It was just a great tournament, and sort of a lot of us will remember that for a long, long time.
Bloody oath. And you've had it, we just touched on it, your career's been absolutely mental. Obviously plying your trade in Australia, but you've gone over to London Irish, obviously plying your trade in Japan with the NEC Green Rockets. you've played in so many different competitions since leaving our shores. What's life like been for you, and how are you currently enjoying your time in Japan?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying my time in Japan. It's just like Quirky will say, it's just life is so different. The footy is just unbelievably different in all regards. Like you're playing with 60 cap Welsh second rowers, and then you've got, Bill from accounts backing down with him. Like it's literally like that. So it's funny how much I didn't realise at the time when I signed, but I've really enjoyed helping a lot of those players sort of raise their level a bit. Like, you don't want to go in and just be like, do this, do that, like, be better here. Like, you just want to slowly help the squad along the way, and I've absolutely loved that. That's been unreal. And in England, I had a great time as well. We played 3 seasons there. We were promoted the year that I arrived. So it was our first year back in Prem, and we played quite well. We finished sort of middle of the table, and then our last year we went quite well, finished like sixth or something. So that brought the fans all back. They were right on us. It was an awesome experience. It's funny, like being away, you realise how good you've got it at home. There's nothing better than, club rugby in Sydney or Queensland or Melbourne or Perth or wherever it is. It's home's always home. I think rugby players have the best opportunity in this country to actually develop as players. In England, we would have a squad of about 70, and then we'd have about 10 academy boys who were literally 18 straight out of school. They academy them straight out of school. And those blokes, how when we don't play for the Tars, we go back to Sydney Uni, or if you're not playing for the Reds, you go back to Sunnybank or whatever. So you're playing a lot of footy. They don't do that there. There's no club rugby below, so that a lot of them aren't playing for like 3.5 years, unless it's like a B game. But then if they're not in that second team either, they're not playing. Like same in Japan, like we have a big squad of about 55, 60, but those bottom 20 boys would never play it. Like maybe in the trials at the beginning of the year, but even so, like they'd still have 10 blokes not playing in those trials. So they're not being able to develop as players. So I think we're really lucky here in Australia that we've got such a healthy club competition below everyone to be able to get some game time into it.
Bloody oath,
mate! And you've just come off what looked like a hell of a week, World 15, and bars, mate.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Tell us everything.
Tell us everything.
I knew it was going to be a big week. Like I knew it was going to be like a lot of fun, but just the whole week was just, it's like I was back at college again. It was just too much. It was awesome. Like, and it was great because like we were stacked, our team. Like I think originally they wanted the World 15 to be like the team that the Harlem Globetrotters kicked the shit out of, but we ended up being a pretty good squad all coming together. So we had a good week. Steve Hansen, my God, he is impressive. Like I've barely spoken to him in the 10 years I've played against him, but no wonder he's won everything. Like he's just walks in, commands the room, really nice guy. First day he's like, right, I'm going to be the first one to have a really good week this week. I want you guys to have a good week, but we have a responsibility in rugby. There's a World Cup coming up. I feel like everything's sort of dipped a bit. All these teams folded in the UK. We need to get everyone excited for the World Cup year. And it's our responsibility to do that. I'm like, oh, my God, I'm ready to run through a wall for this bloke. Let's go. Like, so he was awesome. He was really good work value as well. Like we didn't have a lot of trainings. It was like we trained 2 days from 10:30 till 12, and then the Thursday we trained 11 till 12, and then a little captain's run. So it wasn't a lot, but like every night it was like 5:30 in the team room. We're gonna have a beer before we go to dinner. Like so every night you're sitting there having a beer and you're just having a chat with blokes who you played against so many times, but you've never really been able to catch up with, and it was just a really good experience. Like there's blokes in there, the Italians were unreal. There was these 3 Italian boys who were just like wild all week. And then as we know, the Fijians just dominated. Big Sammy Raja was out of control. He was awesome. And he's a weapon, man. He's so big. Like him and Israel Folau standing next to each other was like, oh my God. Like if I'm going to Star Wars and I need to clone one person, like I'm just getting both of you and we're just forming an army. Like, So that was really cool. It was a great week. We ended up losing just in the game, but I don't really think it was about that. I think the ref was letting forward passes and stuff go. We scored some pretty entertaining tries, and it was a good week. It was a real box tick. I loved it. It was a good experience.
Bloody oath.
Mate, and speaking of ticking boxes, mate, beautiful family. Wife Ebony, mate, you've obviously got the 3 kids, Huxley, Bailey, and relatively new arrival in Scarlett, mate. Outside of rugby for you, you've obviously been able to give them the best of the world as young kids over in England, and now, you know, one of the safest places and the best places in the world to raise a family in Japan. What's Fangs as an old man? What's it like for you on the outside?
The problem are the kids are exactly like me, like real terrorists, like little shitbags just running around all day causing carnage. Like, I'm really lucky. I guess I'm really lucky I had the Pentagon to prepare myself for children. So,
John O'Lance will do that to you?
Oh, yeah. My kids are way easier than him. But they've had a great time. We had 2 of our kids over in England, so we almost left them behind, but we thought we'd take them with us.
Back in the container with the gear.
That's it. The boys are at a local kindy, and you're always like, "Oh, you learn any Japanese words today?" And they're like, "Oh, no, not really." Like, the teacher kept saying "dame" to me, which is like "stop it," and like "yumero onegaishimasu," which is like "please behave." So like they're getting all that side of the language sorted out. But yeah, I'm very lucky, and my wife's been unbelievable. She's loved the journey as well. We're living in a really quiet part of Tokyo, which is great. We're not right in the guts of it. We would dead set be the only foreigners within 20 kilometres. And it's funny, like people would walk down the street and wave to us because they know that we're the foreigners, which is unreal. We've had we've met all our neighbours, been invited around for meals, and had like a couple of them around for barbecues and stuff. It's been a really good experience, and we're loving our time sort of over in Japan at the moment for sure.
Before we get to our Fast Five, Eddie Jones has taken over the helm of the Wallabies. World Cup just around the corner. What can we expect from the group of players that he selects for the World Cup?
I love him. I love Eddie.
Yeah.
You're sounding a bit like Eddie too, the way you're talking there.
Boys.
It's funny because when I was in England, like a lot of the boys would be called into camps for him, and they used to come back with some ripping yarns. Like, he's got so many like tricks that he loves playing on the boys. Like, one of our players, Tom Parton, he likes to like call you the wrong name and see if you pull him up on it. So he'll be like, "Oh, Dave, what do you reckon about when we go around the corner there?" And Tom's like 20 years old. He's like, "How does he not even know my name? Like, what's going on?" He do like tricks like that, which is quite funny. No, I reckon he's going to be good. I like Eddie because, like, a lot of the English boys didn't like him, but the boys that didn't like him were the ones that were not doing what he wanted. Like, he wants hard players. He wants tough. He wants them, working hard. He wants big boys, like, winning collisions all the time. And a lot of those players who would whinge about him in the press and stuff were the ones that were not able to do that. So, like, I'm pumped. I'm glad England let him go because we get him. I think he's going to bring some hard boys into those games, like the first game against South Africa. I think I'm excited to see what he does about a lot of those overseas players because, obviously there's the new Giddo Law 1.1 where you're only allowed to pick 3 people over 20 or something. But, he writes the rules. He'll do what he wants. Like,
Depends if it's the World Cup, we change it. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Like, who's to say, like, why should we have to pick between, like, Marika Korobidi or Will Skelton?
Exactly.
Let's get them in.
Get the best, fly them in, chopper them in.
They're obviously hungry to play, and they're just as Australian as anyone else. Like, let's get them in. Like, I love Eddie. I think he's going to be unreal for us, and especially because this is his first year, so he'll bring the shock factor real early. And like Czech in 2015, that was his first year. He changed the shape. Yeah. Some players missed out, unfortunately, but a lot of players got an opportunity and they thanked him for it. So, I'm looking forward to Eddie getting in charge. I'm looking forward to seeing who he's throwing out there, who's sort of like on his good list, and I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of the press conferences too because they're brilliant.
He's good.
Fanger's phone's going to light up.
There it
Otherwise-
is.
I
Right,
thought,
get
yeah,
the
I was
caller.
just thinking like,
He keeps
He's
checking for
obviously
it.
a
He keeps
listener,
checking.
right? He
Yeah.
listens to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
show.
He's on next. He's on
We had
next.
him on the show last week, but he.
we ran out of time.
You must have a new
No,
Australian
down
number.
there. Yeah. So he'll hit me up on Instagram. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Mate, we do a thing called Dow's Fast Five. Dow's not here, so unfortunately I've got to do it, mate.
Yeah.
Just 5 questions. First thing that pops into your mind. If you could pick an athlete from any other sport to come and play in your World 15, who would it be?
Tyson Fury.
Oh, shit, that's a
Gypsy.
good one.
That's a
I
big
want-
That's a
I
good
want the
one.
Gypsy
Halfback?
King in the second row.
Oh.
Going there, and I want to be standing behind him, just being the biggest smart ass.
Oh, yeah.
And just letting the big fella sort him out. He's huge too.
Yeah.
He's like 6'8". Like,
I think he's
big boy. Let's
6'9",
get him in the
yeah.
row.
Big engine on him.
Fit as a
Yeah.
fiddle.
Oh,
Oh,
I don't need him to be any of that. I just one of you boys at the bottom right sort of out.
Just point him out. Yeah.
that's a
He didn't do
brilliant
me.
answer.
Him.
He pushed me.
He pushed me. What a halfback. Mate, highlight of your career?
We've spoken about 2014 title and 2015 World Cup. Unreal.
Love it. Mate, favourite all-time teammate?
Hard to go past Bernard Foley, but I'll never say it to his face. We played professionally together since 2010 and very unprofessionally since 2007. So we've shared a lot of memories together. He's the kind of guy that you can build squads around, build teams around, and he's someone that's certainly, him playing outside me has made me look very good at a lot of stages in my career. So he's a good man to have on and off the field in your corner.
Love it. Mate, least favourite teammate of all time?
Johnny Lance.
Oh,
sorry.
You can
I'll
think
let
about
finish
it.
that.
You can. I didn't quite finish the least favourite teammate of all time.
One of the greats, Jono. He's unbelievable player. Jeez, he's a good player, but just like one of those kids that's clearly signed straight out of school as the most talented kid, and then like not learning anything. Like I said, he put milk in the kettle because he
Life
wanted to make
skills.
hot chocolate. And one night we had a particularly big night, and I woke up at like 6:30 in the morning. I'm
Here
like,
we go.
what's that smell? I'm like, am I on fire? What's happening? So I walk downstairs and there's just smoke billowing out of the oven, billowing. I was like, what is happening? He's gotten home and put in like 80 nuggets into the oven and then passed out on his bed. So it's quite lucky the Pentagon isn't a big smouldering mess at the moment because I couldn't look at the light on fire.
Mate, most influential person in your life and or career?
Oh, that's a good one. Younger, there was a guy called Ben Gavin at my school, Kings. You've spoken about the School of Hard Knocks. He was a guy. He was coaching the seconds at school, and he was the athletics coach. And he's the kind of guy. I was real little rat bag when I was younger at school, so he gave me a lot of things to do away from the classroom that kept me out of trouble. And he taught me hard work and how to play footy, really, the way to play the game. And that's something that I'll forever be thankful for him for. And now towards the back end of my career, definitely my wife. She's unbelievable. She's a great sounding board. She understands a lot more about rugby than she'll let on, but she's always got some great advice for me along the way.
bloody oath. Absolutely fantastic. And just last one, Nick. A lot of people know you as Fangsy, but a lot of people wouldn't know where you got that nickname from. Fill us in.
Oh, it's a rubbish story. My old man was a teacher at the School of Hard Knocks, and I grew up on the property there. And he used to drive his car around school like a maniac, and everyone used to call him Fanger. And then when I was growing up, because I was like a kid, I'd be tiny, and they're like, "Oh, it's Little Fang," and it just always stuck. There was always someone from Kings in any sort of team or environment I've ever been in. Like once you hear Fang, you sort of think that's a funny little nickname. You just call him that forever. Even like the Japanese boys at the mighty NEC Rockets, bottom of the ladder, number one in your heart, they Fanger as well. So it rolls off the tongue a bit different, but the intent's still there.
That's actually sick. That's a sick nickname. All right, Fanger, mate, appreciate you joining us this evening, mate. It's been absolutely awesome. Hopefully we can see you in France at the back end of this year. You've done everything you possibly can to get Eddie Jones to give you a tingle. But either way, mate, we appreciate your time and we'll wish you all the best, brother, moving forward.
No, lads, thank you very much. And like I said, I've been a long time listener. I've always been a big fan of all you boys. So keep up the good work. Someone needs to be plugging the mighty game in Australia, and you guys are doing an awesome job. So well done.
Let's go.
Round of applause.
He gets it.
Bless you, Fenger. You get it. All right,
mate.
Fenger. All the best, brother. We'll chat to you soon.
Cheers, lads. Have a good show.
Later,
See you
brother.
later.
Mate.
Nick Phipps,
Cheers,
everybody.
Fang.
Round of applause. Nick Phipps. Hell yeah, man. Mate, as I said, one of the most requested guests we've had, and a lot of the time it's actually from past players that have actually said, get Fenger in the mixer, mate.
I thought it was Eddie Jones.
He told us that.
Oh, player. Player. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we caught him at the back end of last week's show. We wanted to apologise. We ran out of
Phippsy.
time, but, mate, he's good gas, isn't he, Quirky?
Mate, he's always got subtle little stabs, but he does it in like the most,
Halfback.
like dad-centric way you
Yeah.
can.
Lovely
Like
way.
Kings,
Oh, yeah.
it's the Sydney Uni plugs, the Kings plugs, and all that. So, but mate, played a lot of footy with Fang, and mate, he's one of the greats. He's loves his footy, but he also loves to drink beers.
No wonder
does,
you like
doesn't
him.
he?
Yeah.
I find the more we talk to halfbacks, like they're actually not as bad at blokes as they seem on the field. You know what I mean? Like Nick White, he seems angry, right? And you go, oh, I'm gonna hate him. Great bloke,
Really mellow,
Phipps,
cool
right?
dude, yeah.
good bloke,
Yeah.
right?
And he even admits, he's like, I'll just love a big second row just so I could throw shit behind.
Yeah. Chirping. He did it.
Oh, mate. All right, before we get into our red hot takes and our rugby's, Big Fat Das, anything for the Battlers bench this
Yeah,
week?
we do. Zachy, did you get that video that Jabor finished?
Oh.
Did he send that to you? No? Oh. What happened, Jabor? Didn't get done?
Life's been...
Didn't get done. Oh, well. Battlers bench.
Round of
Thanks,
applause,
Quirky.
Battlers bench this
Thanks,
week.
Quirky.
I promise next week we will have it sorted. I apologise. Life's been tough. I had a wedding on the weekend. I've got another one this weekend.
Oh, double header.
Yeah, mate, very popular.
Whoa. Look at
This is
guy.
what it's like when you've got friends, Big
I
Fat
was going to
Das.
say the wedding guy.
That's me, man.
Yeah.
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 What colour suit you rock for a wedding?
Brown.
Nice.
Chocolate brown.
Chalk.
No,
Oh, winter. It's
no
winter.
socks in the shoes, Connor.
No, socks, yeah.
Oh,
socks with slip-on
I would've
loafers.
assumed-
yeah.
I think
Yeah,
I was
no,
on Quirky's
Yeah.
little...
No socks, ankles showing.
No shocks either.
Yeah, there's been a couple of shocks. I'll give you that.
Shackles? Oh, yeah,
I
be-
get shocked.
you're
all the
shocked
time.
later on the night.
No, I scrub up all right, man.
Yeah, that's a shock.
Sweaty shins. It's all happening.
Tie? You'd go a
I did
fancy
rock a tie.
little timber bow tie or something.
No,
right?
no,
You
no.
go,
It's
"Oh,
just
I'm-"
like a little navy mesh tie matching my navy socks with my brown suit.
Yeah,
I hate
that's the way
this. It's
we
making
suck.
me feel weird. Let's move on. All right.
Battlers bench.
All right. Now it's time for our red hot takes for the upcoming weekend. Big Fat Das, what are you thinking, mate? What are you backing in?
Mate, last week I picked Manly to beat Gordon, and Manly flogged Gordon.
Pumped him.
Picked up a bonus point. Wildfire's also won, so now
Mate, you...
at the moment we've got a two-way tie, top of the table between Hunter and Manly at the moment, both on 38. They've got a week off. Is that right, Zachy?
Yep.
Shoot, she's got a week off. But let's go over to Super Rugby now. This is a very red hot take. Tars to win.
Tars to win.
Tars to win.
Tars to win.
Tars to beat the Blues.
In Auckland.
Yeah.
Why?
Why?
Not.
I just think they're
Why
playing
not?
so bad. Why
Why
not?
not?
Why not? They're just playing so badly the last couple of weeks. They're due. And that's all you need for a red hot take.
And the Blues are in great form going into finals, and yes, they'll shit the bed, yeah.
They lost to Moana. Anyway, whatever. Nah, red hot.
But sometimes you need it.
You need it.
Yes.
Sometimes you
I think
need
they want the win.
Yeah.
I think they want it.
Yeah,
So,
they want it, whereas the Blues have just been playing such good football. Surely they're going to shit the bed
They're probably
eventually.
focusing on semis and
Ugh,
GF, right?
idiots.
Week to week, mate. That's where footy's won.
Just before we go ahead with Quirkies, your red hot takes this year have been unbelievable in the
I
shoot
think
shield.
I've
Red
just
hot.
stuffed
Mate,
it.
you'd be hitting like 90%. The only one you didn't jag was, I think, Hunter lost by
That's
a
my
point.
Yeah, that was way off.
Other than that, mate, you are back.
That's where my
back.
that's where my phone fell down the lift shaft, Zachy. Is that right?
Roll
The
it
camera
back.
should be on you, Zachy. I told you. Fill it around.
I reckon any betting company that wants to sponsor you as an individual needs to get going.
Get on it. Sit on it.
While it's cheap. Cowbunga.
Yeah.
Quirky.
you got, mate?
Your red hot take.
I'm swaying towards Super Rugby as well. Red hot take. The Jura to beat the Satyrs at home in extra time. Just
Extra time.
yes.
Well, hold on. We've got to talk about you last week. Reds to win by 3 points
At the death.
at the death.
Yeah, I don't think that was my one.
It 100%
Yeah, it was.
Oh, I
Look,
thought you were
no, I had you sold on that. I had you sold on that. Look, my red hot take was a red hot flop last week.
That's okay.
Look, I was just.
That's what it's a red hot take, mate. You meant
Yeah,
to be
I
right.
was just trying to build the Queensland spirit within the group, and
Surely they weren't watching.
No, they weren't. So I've got Drua to beat the Satyrs.
Chilly night in Christchurch could be a bit tricky, but you never know.
They played them really well last time. I know it was in Fiji, but they played them really well. So, and I know it's hard to beat the Satyrs in town, but mate, they're fizzing at the moment, those boys.
And it is knockout footy now.
Yeah,
and
different type of footy, right? Yep.
Fiji don't put the cue in the rack, so hopefully they go, mate, all in or nothing. And they're a side that when they've got nothing to lose.
And there's a big Fijian cohort down in Christchurch, down in Canterbury. So as if they're not going to be out and about, just shaking and grooving.
Oh,
It'll
so
be
after
pumping.
wearing navy socks and blue mesh ties, right, after the game.
You fucking douchebag. All right, that's our red hot takes. Now it's time for our rugby watch. Big Fat Dust, starting with you out of Moana Pacifica. It was Timothy Tavanawai.
Mate, he's so thick. What is he, 5'5" or something?
Thicker than a bowl of
It says
oatmeal,
up
mate.
anywhere from 106 kilos to 111 kilos, mate.
Because he fluctuates.
Little cannonball,
Depends if he
mate.
takes a
Look
shit
him
or
go.
not.
Like, he dips his head. You know where he's going to go, but they just can't seem to. He's just
Mate, that is
pinballing off him, mate.
Pinball.
I think he got 2 tries this game, mate. They just didn't want anything to do with him. Look at that, mate. Just loves it. He's been. Mate, there's been 6 or 7 standout wingers in the comp, and I think playing with Moana, he doesn't get as many opportunities, but whatever he does, he fucking takes, mate.
Oh,
and
mate.
I think he got a couple of. He got let go of the Blues or Hurricanes squad. They looked at him, didn't want him.
Mm-hmm.
Picked up by Moana after playing for someone in the NPC Cup. I did some research. Then it just
Didn't write
Just
it down. mate.
slipped out your brain.
just went.
Didn't write it down. But that's okay, mate. He's
but,
been
mate,
absolutely red hot.
big
And as you
time.
said, doesn't get the kudos he probably deserves,
No.
considering he is obviously playing for Moana. But, mate, absolute gun. Quirky, your rugby couldn't go past Dane Coles out of the Canes, mate.
Mate, the king of the niggle. I played his last game down there in the cake tin. Mate, I've played him a lot, and he is a grub. And I love it. And mate, I've been
We're going to say something different.
No,
he's
mate,
not a grub. He's a grub.
And, that's his game. That's what it, and I think he got stuck in with his opposite here, his All Black mate. They had a bit of a rough and tumble, as you can see here. But mate, look, he and they'd be good close mates, but mate, Colsey doesn't stand back from a little bit of a
field,
biffo.
mate.
So I think the Canes are going to miss him. But mate, he's how good's he been for a very, very long time?
Awesome. And built like a third-grade hooker,
I
mate.
was about to say, like, to be fair, the
Shit
last
rig.
year, he looks like a 53-year-old man, right? Looks like someone's dad. But
Last
him
year.
against Cody Taylor, right? Cody's, like, a lot bigger than him, but, mate, Dane Coles, mate, just doesn't let
He
go.
is deceptive,
Yeah,
mate.
yeah.
And he is just the king of the niggle, mate. He's an absolute gun. Dow couldn't be here tonight, unfortunately. We didn't even touch on that. But his rugby was Max Bury out of the Western Force, mate. You see there, 1 try, 35 metres. But try assists, the try he scores is an absolute barn burner. Like that little grubber through, gobbled up by Tim Anstey there, mate. Max Bury, since making his debut a month or so ago, has just hit the ground running, and you've seen it when plying his trade for Norths. He's been catapulting them up the ladder for the last couple of years, but now he has hit the ground running in Super Rugby, and mate, he's a bona fide professional footy player, and he's going to be in the mixer for a bloody long time.
I think the Force too, they've been looking for a 10. They've been signing 10s again and again and again every year, and we've never really seen a 10 cement the spot. Like, he's relatively fresh and new, and he was demanding a lot from older guys around him.
Yeah.
He was steering the ship, and then again, like 2 or 3 big flare moments. So, Like
Probably they hold on to
he
him,
keeps
yeah.
consistency key. He can hang on to that jersey for
Bloody
ages if
I
he
think
wants to.
Him and Rishan Pasatoa could have a good little rivalry, healthy one over there in the Force. Yeah.
Downstairs
We ran
at
into
the,
a
random
random piss at the port office.
This bloke used to play for the Raiders back in, I don't know, whatever. And he was like,
No.
Reece Jam Pasatoa.
Better than Ricky Stewart.
Better than Ricky Stewart.
We're like,
And I should know. We're like,
lady, you're scaring us. Like, what the
like
fuck?
breathing
Who is
on
this?
us. Like,
Like,
oh, bro.
smoked 1,000 durries, just pissed as at
Jay
about
Ball's-
6:30 on a Thursday night.
Jable's still got his washing basket full of our recording gear doing the podcast upstairs.
What are you doing, mate?
He's like, I need to go home, mate.
It's like,
So do you.
bundled us up. We're like, mate.
Little
bloody
did you know, he had the crystal ball.
Yeah, well, oh, mate, he was a lunatic, this guy.
He had crystal in the other sense.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, he had a crystal pipe, that's for sure. All right, thanks very much for tuning in for this week's episode of the PAC Rugby Show. Quirky, big fat Das, as per usual. Dassy, absolutely crushed it. Zachy boy on the ones and twos out of the DoubleTake studios, mate. Absolute gun. Couldn't do it without you. In the meantime, stay safe, enjoy your footy. We'll see you next week. Ciao.
Good luck at your wedding.